it's that metamorphosis process. It's that alchemy of transformation that we are experiencing, not only through just having babies and becoming a mother from a child, but also in our day-to-day experience when we are allowing ourselves, love you, we're allowing ourselves to drop into ourselves and drop into that connection of our reality and how we are interconnected to our reality and how that unfolds into our manifestation processes. And it's just such a gift. It's an amazing thing when we are allowed to allow ourselves to view from a different perspective and see things from more than one viewpoint.
Hello, and welcome to all of you beautiful souls tuning in today to the Heart of the Soul podcast. I'm your host, Amana, and I'm so happy that you're here. This is a space where we remember what it means to be wild women walking upon this earth, navigating the ebbs and flows of the seasons of our lives, honoring each other's differences, and connecting about that which unites us. Together, we practice using our voices and the ancient ritual of storytelling, sharing our stories and celebrating how we and they change across time. Today is Tuesday, November 15th, 2022. It's a little after 2:30 p.m. I'm in Troutdale, Oregon currently in the living room of our little travel home, and I wasn't anticipating being here today, but life continues to teach me to flow with the changes presented, and perhaps I'll do a little life update sometime in the next few weeks. But today I have Harmony Fronterhouse with me through the cosmos on Zoom. I am super excited to have the opportunity to chat with her today. One of my oldest memory of Harmony was around 5 years ago, and we were both at the Okanagan Family Fair. And my son, who's about to turn 6, was just this little baby. And I remember I'm gonna feeling tearful about just telling the story right now. You might not even remember this, but I was breastfeeding him, and you just came up to me and just witnessed me in that moment and said, thank you for nursing your baby. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's important to give that life source to our children, and especially to do it freely in public. So yeah, that's a beautiful memory.
So I would love for you to introduce yourself however it feels good to you. Tell people where you are in the world, and then you'll see in the video, if you're watching on YouTube, Harmony has her book there and I have a copy here. She wrote this beautiful book that we will likely be pulling little threads from to talk about.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm Harmony Fronterhouse, and I'm up here about an hour north of Seattle in Washington, little town called Arlington, and I'm actually closer to Darrington than the actual town of Arlington, but for namesake, that's where I'm at. And it's also known as the Beaver Mountain Land, and I live on the Stillaguamish River in that territory. And I have a wonderful sunny day that's in front of me, and it's just been beautiful. Been out enjoying it. I love to garden, and I love to connect with the earth and the elementals. And yeah, like you said, I've written a book. It took about 10 years to write, from the beginning to the end, and to being published. And it was published actually where I met you. Was my very first book release party was at Barter Fair. And so that was really special about 4 years ago. So I think, or 3 is, the time with the shutdown. It was before the shutdown, and the fall before the shutdown is when I released it. And it's just a really amazing story of my process through my journey of ascension, and then our collective process and what we're all going to through this together, and how I learned to unfold different parts of my life and find that my the way that I look at life really dictates how I see life. And so in that, I was able to transcend a lot of my the things that no longer served me, the things that weren't working for me anymore, and really catapult that and use that as a catalyst into my growth process and into understanding not only myself and the interconnection that we have with each other, but also a further understanding about the earth and a further understanding about the birth process and a further understanding about our birthing process on a daily basis, the new rewriting that we're doing of our consciousness level, of our paradigm that we live in, and the interaction that we have with that world. So a little tidbit of what it is there's so much more to it, but yeah, thank you so much for getting a copy when we saw each other last. That's such an honor, and that you read it and asked me to be here today. I just really just super honored and very connected to what you're doing as well, and very synchronistic that we're usually connected, and this time we were like right across from each other at the fair, so that was really cool. And to see your kids grow, just a gift. Just it happens so quickly, so it's just, I just cherish that and just cherish the amazing woman and sister and person, a soul that you are and what you're doing. So yeah, thank you so much gratitude.
Thank you. Yeah, I love how you speak about the like birthing, and that I've really just, deciding on my website to be Birthing Nova. I just feel like I've just had so many like examples and conversations about how we do like birth anew so many different times throughout our life, and that the earth is like displaying that through the seasons, like especially in like where I live, where we have 4 distinct seasons. And I love how you started out. I want to ask you a little bit more about your journey into motherhood, and how I love how you write about it being like you birthed your daughter and you also birthed yourself anew, because I've been using language similar to that when I talk about birth. But for those who might not like know that much about the word paradigm, or what a paradigm is, or what that means, I loved in the beginning of the book, you really kind of went in depth there, but maybe you could just share a little bit about what it means to you. And
yeah, I remember reading it when I was a kid and not knowing even how to say it, and like calling it a paradigm. Like, we just didn't know. So the more I heard that word, the more I wanted to understand what it was. And I really only knew it from context of what it was used in different literature that I had read. And so when I came across my own understanding of that paradigm and how it was shifting and how my reality, the paradigm is essentially the reality in which you experience your life and how that reflects back to you and how you see and interact with your experience around you. So each person has a different paradigm, and each person collectively has a different paradigm on, what their individual experiences, as opposed to what the collective experience of reality and their community and their country that they live in and the climate that they live in and the social groups that they entertain and communicate with, and all the different components of who we are make up our paradigm. And a paradigm shift is when you think what your reality is, and then one moment it's like an epiphany happens, and you just realize, whoa, there's more to this. There's more layers to the onion of reality than I thought. There's a different definition than I even thought of what any word could be. When we start looking, like I had an interesting paradigm shift yesterday when I was out on a nature walk and I was connecting, and I was just kind of like giving a moment of this like release, and I was giving some things up, and I was just like, the word give up like is often in a negative connotation, right? So we think of like, oh, I don't want to give up, or like don't give up, or like all these little cliches that over time that have kind of formed the way that we see a certain concept. And so I'm thinking of that, and I'm like, well, actually in manifesting and reality and connecting to reality, when we give up and release, often that actually allows the flow to come back to us and allows any resistance that we had in any direction to just be released. And then we give up our prayers, or we give up our intention to the spirit, to the ethers, to our ancestors. And through that, we allow like more flow to happen. And I was just like, wow. And it rewrote my connection with the word giving up. And I was just like, wow, this is a really cool thing to think about, and how important it is to give up. Like if you're searching for something, no matter what that is, if it's energetic, mental health, or even something, a physical item, if you're searching for that, you set it down, you knew it was there, and you searched everywhere, and then all of a sudden you're just like, I give up. And then you look over and you're like, wait, there it is. Whoa, what? It's like as simple as that. And if you use that as a template and a holographic nature of the as above, so below, as within, so without, there's a certain ability to, if there's something we're searching for, there's certain resistance that we don't realize we already have it. And so when we just release it and give up, then we go, oh, it's already there. We're allowed to see from a different perspective. And that's essentially what a paradigm shift is, and a good explanation of my understanding of what a paradigm is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like for myself, my first like real notable paradigm shift that I can like reflectively look back upon, I didn't necessarily understand that's what was happening as it was like unfolding, was my like belief, understanding of the medical system. We're both drinking out of goblin pottery. That's
oh my god. No, wait,
I saw the orange.
What? You can't make these things up. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh. Yes. So the medical system is definitely one that was a huge paradigm shift for me as well. So go ahead.
Yeah, it was interesting. I just grew up in a very medicalized family where it was like the medical model, the people to believe and trust and do exactly as they say. And I was definitely I was like a good girl, and I did what people told me to do. I didn't want to ruffle feathers, and that continued on. I feel like that like moves into the medical system, and they call you like a non-compliant patient if you don't do as they instruct. And it was definitely an unraveling for me to realize that it's like a system of power, and that they don't have our best interest at heart. And I'm not really sure where I'm going with this. I sort of lost my train of thought, but maybe
the paradigm shift, like you just explained, like you originally, that's exactly like what I experienced in my life, is because, the medical system was the go-to for when you got sick, you went to the doctor. But unfortunately, like we should be able to trust the medical system. We should be able to be, like you talked about, wanting to excel, wanting to do the right thing, and understanding that these, public figures are doing the best for us. But unfortunately, there of course there is several doctors, several amazing surgeons, several nurses, all the way up and down the spectrum that are absolutely 100% heart-centered, want to do the best. But unfortunately, there is a miseducation in a lot of those trainings. And like they call it practicing medicine for a reason. And when you start to realize that, you start to go, oh, well, I can't just put my life in anyone's hands. I really need to do my research and really understand who this doctor is, what they believe, what they, how holistic they view something. If they just, are thinking, oh, you have a medical condition and I want to get paid, or are they saying, I really want to help you heal and, become a healthy person again? And there's, with my experience, my first daughter, she was born via cesarean section, and I found out later on that she really didn't need to have a cesarean. I didn't need to have a cesarean. She didn't need to be born that way, although of course energetically we both chose that, but physically we didn't actually, it wasn't the medical emergency that they made it out to be. But I found out that they get paid for not only the doctor that came to see me, but and didn't deliver, but they also got paid for the surgeons and for all the, medicine and all of the everything in the room for 3 days and everything in the room for 3 days. And they get to charge my insurance for. And so I didn't realize all of that. And then I also didn't realize that it wasn't the medical emergency that they were depicting, which I later found out through my next midwife and through our next doctor and midwife and pediatrician as well, that there was other ways. But they also told me, when I got pregnant with my second daughter, when do you want to schedule your cesarean? And I said, what? And they said, oh, you have no other choice. And then I was like, well, no other choice. That doesn't sound right. There's got to be another choice, And so I started researching, and it was so common that there's an anagram for it. It's called VBAC, vaginal birth after cesarean.
Oh.
And so I was like, wow, I was really deceived. What else were they deceiving me about? And that's when it really, I didn't know about all the other stuff I just previously mentioned until that trigger was and then I found a new doctor, and she was really amazing. And then I was able to deliver, VBAC. And then with my son, I was able to deliver him in my living room, full 100% natural. With my second daughter, I had a partial epidural, but all three things. And they told me it was no other option to get another cesarean once you have one. It's like, if you believe everything that we're told, then we can fall into a paradigm of disempowerment. And that's where I was. I felt in the very beginning, I felt very fearful about death, about birth. And
death is the other side of birth, right?
Yeah,
and there's always that possibility.
And there was a lot of death around that, for generations, that it's imprinted in our DNA that, our ancestors have died during the birth process. But it's not as common as they depicted. And there's ways to cope, and there's ways to, connect with herbs. There's ways to connect with moving your body that is really not even discussed. And so that wasn't part of my paradigm. I literally was like, birth, I would love to have a home birth. That'd be amazing. That'd be my dream. And then on my birth plan, I was like, no cesarean. That was all I wrote. And then, law of attraction said, what, you need a cesarean to learn some things? Okay. So that was kind of like a huge learning process there. So I didn't have a birth plan for my next two births. I thought it was so important, because they made it seem important, but it really wasn't. And the one I planned the least for was the most successful and the most ease. And it was amazing. And it went by so quick, because not only because he was my third, of course, but also because of the environment and my paradigm that I lived in that had shifted, and the connection that I now had with the birth process and understanding it, and understanding the myths, that were holding me into a level of fear that was keeping me into the paradigm where I feel like I have to go to the hospital. So I totally understand, the paradigm shift that you had, because it's very similar to the one that I had as well. But now I'm able to share all those from those three experiences, as opposed to if I would have just started out at home birth and been like, oh, everyone should just have a home birth. It's like, I can't express how important those other experiences were for me to be able to have a background, to be able to say, I've done the cesarean and I've had VBAC in a birth center, but I've also had one in my house, and how important it is to have those experiences to speak from is how I honor them.
Yes. And like you said, it seems like your birth processes were like this uncovering the different layers as you birthed each next baby. And you're right that they often don't give you an alternative, even though there are always alternatives to whatever their treatment they're offering. There's always an alternative, whether they tell you that or not. And I'm sorry, but yeah, they flat out lied to you that there was not an alternative.
Yeah, thank you.
And you bring up death and the possibility of death surrounding birth. And I mean, it's also a possibility at any moment in our lives. And I feel like we're just in a culture where we don't want to look at that, or don't, honor that. It's just part of the cycle. And right now we're in autumn and fall, where nature is showing us death as the leaves fall to the ground and return to the earth. And my great grandmother actually died birthing my grandmother.
Oh.
And yet, I mean, death it is a part of life, and we come to go. No one lives forever. Um, but I feel like the we just don't speak about death enough now in this moment in history. Like, we don't have the traditions and ceremonies and rituals that honor death and make it a part of our like normal human existence.
Yeah, there's so much fear around it. And like you said, there's not those ceremonies. It's not the understanding of what it truly is the veil is really thick between the understanding of what it is and where I was. I'm coming to more understandings about death as I grow and as life unfolds in front of me and deaths unfold. But I'll never truly know until I have that experience. And that's also, I think, what, the life experience is teaching us is, how to go with the flow and give up and release and, don't get too rigid and get stuck. And like all those things are, not just for life, but they're also to be applied in that regeneration cycle when we are, shedding the things that no longer serve us, including our robes, our body. And, that's an understanding that I have yet to fully, come to, but it's been amazing that it has unfolded for me the way that it has, so I can maybe move through it in more grace when it comes, where I'm not holding so much resistance for it, so that I'm not actually like bringing it to me sooner if I'm not meant to, or, however that works, but also to be able to release and go into it if it is coming and know that maybe it doesn't look like what we thought.
Absolutely. In your book, you said that you talked about becoming a mother and how it shifted and changed every aspect of you, birthing yourself anew. I wonder if you might be able to like share some more story around that.
Sure, yeah. Before I had any of my kids, but especially my first daughter, the reality that I experienced was, totally different. Not only I did care for my mom, I was a caregiver for my mom, but I didn't have the same connection to the future and to the understanding that like the direct imprint that I was leaving in the world wasn't as a parent. I was kind of, in my late or early 20s, having, the time of my life, late teens, early 20s, just going with what my friends were kind of doing and, doing a lot of partying and you just enjoying a lot of the physical pleasures of reality. And then when I had my daughter, it was just like a light switch, like literally, like there was so much energy coming, and not even just when I had her, but when I became pregnant, it was like immediately there was something different. Like the choices that I was making was not just for me anymore. It was all the choices that I was making were not only for, my family, my future family, but also for this child's life. Like literally, I was growing a human. And yep, you can have some watermelon. I was growing a human inside of me, and like every choice that I made was having a direct impact on their health, their reality, and the ultimate connection that I would have with that child as well. And so when I quit smoking immediately, when I smoked cigarettes, and I started to eat more mindfully and connect with what was nourishing me, not just eating a bunch of, what I wanted, or, drinking a bunch of coffee, or I stopped drinking alcohol, all the things that, also were helping to enrich my life. And, it was mainly because of my new child that I was growing, but it was also, I didn't care. I should say I didn't care as much about myself. And until that moment when then all of a sudden I had somebody else that I needed to, that was 100% dependent on me. And I had that paradigm shift, that reality shift, where I realized that it was imperative what I did, because that was actually creating this new human. And so in
When
that.
when you were
Okay.
pregnant with your daughter, did you have the knowing in that moment that like she also was carrying the like physical part of her eggs that would then could potentially be your grandbaby someday? Did you
Right.
like
That was
did
amazing. Yeah,
you
there
have
was
that
so many
awareness?
epiphany moments. Yeah, because I actually had heard about that maybe like 3 or 4 years before I had gotten pregnant. And that was one of the coolest things is thinking about is that, like we are literally, not only just implanting the seeds for our children, but the next generations and the generations to come are literally, within us at that moment. It's like that fractal when you look into the mirror and you see the mirrors and mirrors
Oh,
go on, right?
yes, I'm getting chills. Yes.
Yeah, so definitely a huge part of that. There was so many paradigm shifts that I had when I was pregnant. That was like a huge part of that, like you said, and embracing the cycles, that darkness of the womb and the stillness where I did a lot less with, my life and my body, but I
Mm-hmm.
was able to, really quiet the mind and receive a lot of amazing divine downloads. I actually wish I would have started a vlog back then and
Uh-huh.
just had but I didn't have a good camera or anything like that. So, but like what it could have should have, but it would have been amazing to document a lot of the things that I was thinking at the times because it was, I journaled some of it and to go back on it, it's just like really beautiful. And some of that is in the book and some of that is in some of my videos that I make as well. So, but I really connect with that and that legacy that we are leaving.
Yes. And then when you actually birth your daughter, and like I have also been describing this aspect of because I work with women who are in the seasons of like pregnancy and birth and mothering, and it can be so, I find it challenging to fully, there's like kind of like death, like you can't fully describe what it's going to be like to be a mother, to give birth and have this baby that you're caring for until you're actually doing it, and how your whole being like is recalibrated. I feel like I've just like you described, like you became a new person as mother, and I did as well. I wonder if yeah, like what did that look like for you, or do you feel
Yeah.
like yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it was definitely life changing. It's like adding a new role in your life, like I'm still a sister, I'm still a daughter, I still embrace my inner child in a lot of ways, but adding that new role that wasn't existent anymore was, is definitely leveling up in many, many ways. That are like really indescribable. There's so much, like you said, you just can't describe it until you're going through it. But there are very simple virtues that were, I was given choices like activate this and be this better, more aligned part of yourself, or make these other choices and it will ripple off into you not being as connected into, being this mother role. And so I really just decided to jump full 100% in and give it my all. And in that I was able to not only heal my own inner child in many ways, but also heal different mother daughter relationships that I had with my own mother, and different things that I thought about her, like, oh, maybe she didn't do this right, or maybe I would have done no, it's all out the window, because I see how much she did everything she could, and she did what the best with what she knew that she could at the time in the reality that she lived in. And now I live in a different one, and I live in a different, a different paradigm, a different reality, the way that I see things, the way that I experience things, the time, the era, the people that are around, the, technology that's available. Everything is at like 100% different. So there's no way that we could experience things from the same, reality. So everything that she did was right for her, and everything that I was doing was right for me. Even when it felt like a mistake, I could embrace that in a new level because of the perspective that I was able to gain through that, leveling up into being a mother and to connecting to this new role in my life. And then also, becoming a mother, it was also solidifying different parts of my relationship with my husband, who was not my husband at the time. And, you know, we did like an energetic marriage when we were pregnant, but we didn't have like the big whole wedding with the law and all that kind of stuff, who we did since. But it helped me connect to parts of that relationship on higher levels than I was even part of in the beginning. And it also created different tensions between the relationship that I was not really prepared for, but it helped us grow. And, you know, with all the other people in my life as well, you know, it changed the interaction that I had with all the relationships, whether that be people or whether I was going to get into a car with someone, whether I was going to walk down a dark street at night, you know, all the different things I made. Part of all the decisions that I made were a direct result from, you know, having this new role to play. You know, I'm not just making decisions for myself.
Yeah, it really does transform like all relationships. And like you said, especially the like family unit, like with your husband, who wasn't your husband yet, but like, yeah, it also, for me too, when I first gave birth, it definitely transformed the way that like we interacted. And it was like a new, we had to like calibrate differently and find new ways of being and doing, and that were different than before, and honoring the newness and each other in those spaces.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I love what you were talking about with the cycles of nature, because you can really see that, you know, with the birth cycle and the, you know, the connection to the cycle of life and death, and of, you know, the darkness and the darkness of the womb, the darkness of the soil, you know, that nurturing place that a lot of us, you know, fear darkness or want to avoid it. It's like that's where the rebirth and regeneration and nourishment and the water and the all the nutrients come together to create that alchemy of life, so that it, you know, can create a new hologram of a reality of it, you know, a plant or a tree, or, you know, how whatever the seeds that are planted, mushroom spores, and, you know, all of that can be a metaphor to how we can, you know, understand interacting with our own lives.
Yes, I love thinking about that. You know, when we see a tree and its grandness, it's above the earth, and yet there is like so much more we can't even see, all their roots that like are deep within the earth. And I've been trying to find like the language to really talk about this. I'm not sure I quite have it yet, but I was out in my garden this last summer and was standing there like next to a tree, and just also just having this awareness that like I am also the earth, like I am her, and I, you know, have water and minerals and nutrients and things, and like I am her standing on top of her, you know. And when one day I will return down in under the ground and under the earth, um and it just felt really, I felt love in that, you know, like, yes, in this moment in time, I'm standing upon the earth and interacting with her and consuming, you know, vegetables and fruits. And I am built from her, my, you know, bones and a skin, and the blood that runs through me is also from her. And I will then return to her.
Yeah, I love that. You know, I think one of the chapters is "We Are Nature" in my book, and I talk very much about that connection that was very disconnected in parts of my life, but that I really noticed in the collective of humanity. And in understanding how much part of nature that we are, and how we are the elements, how we are connected and made up of those elements, and like you said, the nutrients we need. We're an interdependent system with nature. It's like one huge body, and we are part of, you know, the things that help that body destroy and break down what's no longer needed and build what is, you know. And we're those like osteoblasts and they're not, that's a bone, but the, you know, the osteoclasts and osteoblasts,
Yes.
the biology of, something that breaks down and builds up. And humans are part of that too. Mushrooms are part of that. Trees are part of that. We're all an interlocking system. We all need some amount of sunlight for the ability to connect and process the energy and the information as well. And light is carried in, information is carried on light. So all of those different things, the air, the connection to the soil itself gives us endorphins. And we have energetic roots. You want to go into the energy systems, like we can literally put roots into the earth and connect in that way. There's so much interconnection to nature that has been forgotten and is now being remembered by people like us that can connect in this way. And it's so powerful.
I love, you spoke about, was it the Salish seas, or where you grew up when you were little?
Yeah.
Just that island that
Yeah.
you got to spend time with and be with. And I grew up near a lake on the Kitsap Peninsula, and I also just loved being in nature. So reading your stories about that really felt,
Yeah, that's helped me to get to the place that I am now, because I really reflected into my childhood of what brought me the most joy. What was it? And it was the nature, the amazing islands, the amazing trees and the soil and the agriculture and the animals and everything that was allowed to stay in a somewhat pristine state of eco balance, and seeing that ecology and seeing the balance between humans and nature, and how we are an integral part of that, really helped me to remember all of those truths when I was a child, and implement that into who I am and what I'm doing now. And I lived in the city for quite a while, and even though I originally knew I didn't want to go to the city, I had so much resistance to it that the universe or God or myself, however you want to look at that, actually was like, what, you need to go and be there? Okay, 7 years, here you go. And so now I'm living in nature and just among all of that beauty. Again, my husband grew up in Alaska, and so like where I'm living now is like an amazing mix between the islands and Alaska. So we get to have this like where two worlds meet. I'm like in the foothills of these beautiful mountains by a river, and lakes and ponds, and just amazing beauty. And it's very similar. A lot of the plants are very similar to where I grew up. And so it gives me a very nostalgic energy, and that activation of being that amazing, creative child, magical child that within us that knows that infinite possibilities, because they haven't been told no enough times, right? So it really helps me get that vibe, per se, that vibration, that energy, that frequency of that bliss from when I was a child. And connecting to also my heritage, and to connecting to the different parts of the islands, and like how much of it is a legacy that not only I have inherited because I'm living there, but and I'm responsible to help be steward, so that it can be passed on, that legacy can continue on for the next generation. So I was on that island yesterday because my mom still lives there, and I help take care of her, and my brother still lives there. And I took a moment to go sit on the beach and just meditate, just 5 minutes, but I needed that, and I needed to connect, and that magical mermaid energy that's there, and just really have a moment to recalibrate. And this is home where I'm at, but that's also home. And that's one of the things you can also learn, is that even though you have a definition of what home is, it can be expanded. You can have home wherever you go, and you're actually feeling that feeling, like barter fair, like people say, welcome home. That is it is home. And home is where the heart is. It's where the real love, the real connection, where you feel heart activated. And interconnecting with nature is definitely that for me.
Yes, absolutely. Throughout your book, you reference the butterfly, and for me, it's a very sacred, yeah, spirit animal of mine. And it was a butterfly that I had on my soul flame altar when I was calling in my man. And I was at the Land of Barter Fair, but during Conscious Culture Festival, that a little butterfly, a periwinkle butterfly, flew around me and over to Owen, who's now my husband.
Oh, I got chills.
So I would love if you could speak more to what the butterfly means to you and why you weaved it throughout your book.
Yes. Well, I've always had a connection to butterflies. And when I was little, I used to call them flutterbys because I didn't understand why they were called butterfly because they weren't like
Aw.
butter, right? So
Yeah.
that's what I used to call them when I was little, flutterbys. And
Oh.
so I've always loved them, and I've always loved the beauty and the gracefulness, the delicateness, the interconnection, and the symbology of the butterfly itself, just all of the ways that it makes me feel. And when I'm like out in nature and just the beauty of it, the majesticness of the butterfly, for some reason, just really captivating to me. But then as I grew up, I started to understand the symbology of it and the understandings of, transformation and the connection of, how there's the mirror image on the wings and just all different parts of that butterfly effect, right? And then I started learning about the butterfly effect itself, and that was super fascinating about how when we do something, it ripples out into the reality around us. And one flap of the butterfly's wing could cause a tsunami on the other side of the world. And that was just like, wow, what a metaphor for this feeling I already felt of like the responsibility that we need to have in this world of our actions and our thoughts and our, imprint on this reality, because it's all interconnected and it's all so integrated into one another. And it can also help to release, any worry or regret on those things as well, and just like helping to unfold what is meant to be. Because like the butterfly is just flapping its wings. It's not being malevolent. It's not doing anything intentionally to send a tsunami halfway across the world. It's very connected to nature, and it's doing its part of nature, right? And the tsunami isn't necessarily a bad thing either. It's a bad thing for those who decided to, live on the ocean shore, but that happens. And it's a lesson for those people maybe that live on the ocean shore, that maybe that's not the best place to build a home. Or, it's definitely, there's more to the picture. There's not, everything isn't charged with good and evil and with, malevolence or benevolence. It is unfolding one way or the other. The caterpillar doesn't necessarily even understand that it's going to become a butterfly, yet it just does what it's supposed to do, like the Very Hungry Caterpillar book, like it just eats through all the different fruit, eats some pie, gets a big old stomach ache, and then it realizes, oh, I was supposed to be eating green leaves. That makes me feel better. I'm just going to eat green leaves. And then it's like, wow, I'm going to go into a chrysalis. This is really wild. I don't know what's going to happen. And then it just unfolds, and it just knows what to do instinctively. And then in that, this is one of the coolest things that I learned about butterflies, is that the butterfly actually turns into a goopy soup. I mean, the caterpillar in the chrysalis, it turns into a goo, and it's no longer, it's both caterpillar and butterfly, but it's neither at the same time. And the DNA is still there. However, it's an uncomfortable space. It's like you feel like a mess, right? It's like, metaphorically, when we look at ourselves as that caterpillar going into the cocoon, we have those moments over and over again in our life. And we can see, as this caterpillar, let me just let go. Let's just let this unfold. Let's just do what our instincts and our nature is telling us to do. And as we do that, literally a butterfly is created inside of that chrysalis, which is, the word chrysalis is like crystallize. It's like that consciousness of emergence and compassion and release and flow. that allows that butterfly, that new Mariposa energy to come out and to emerge. And it's the same DNA as the caterpillar. It's the same being, the same soul. However, it's gone through this transformation process that's allowing it to now experience the reality that it's experiencing from a whole new perspective, literally and metaphorically. It is, able to fly. It's able to look over all of the green things that it used to eat. It's able to now pollinate. It's able to do all of these things and awe humans in a different way than it ever did. Some people can't handle a caterpillar, and they'll let butterflies land all over them. And so it's that metamorphosis process. It's that alchemy of transformation that we are experiencing, not only through just having babies and becoming a mother from a child, but also in our day-to-day experience when we are allowing ourselves, love you, we're allowing ourselves to drop into ourselves and drop into that connection of our reality and how we are interconnected to our reality and how that unfolds into our manifestation processes. And it's just such a gift. It's an amazing thing when we are allowed to allow ourselves to view from a different perspective and see things from more than one viewpoint.
Yes, I love that. It's so true. I've been more accepting of like these moments of kind of rebirth and going into like what feels like a chrysalis type state myself, where I feel like I'm transforming within and then like almost birthing anew in this new state, knowing that then again it will I'll have some sort of death and also then rebirth, and it feels good to, I turned 40 this year in
Me too.
Cheers. Yes, I turned 40 on Sunday of this week. Yes. So it's taken some time, but I really feel like and I know that will probably change. Right in this moment, I'm feeling just more comfortable with accepting of those little cycles within myself and giving myself the time and space to turn within more often in those times and not look outwardly and create those like cave-like spaces also for myself.
Ooh, I love that. And that's a paradigm shift in itself, allowing ourselves to change the way we thought what 40 would be, right? What 40 looked like is not what 40 is, so, and that also depends on not only how you formed your biological body in the past 7 years, in the past, as the cells build and everything, but also the mental state, the physiological and the emotional and the etheric body. The more we let go and the more we release what we thought it would look like, the more we allow what is to be, and that's one of the coolest parts about it, is because, I thought so much more limitations and so many more things about what 40 would be than it is. And so that allows me to look at my other mindsets and perspectives and perceptions on what other things may be in the future, and just like throw that nonsense out the window. Those belief systems that don't serve me, I don't have to connect to. I can just be like, well, I don't know.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to create this. I'm aligning to this, but I don't know. Right. And that's really where the power is at.
Yeah. Release those old beliefs and form new ones as you move through life. When do you turn 40?
I did February 16th.
You just did? Okay. So
so it's been like 8 months. Yeah. But
you're 82, baby.
Yeah. 82. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, how
Class
fun.
of 2000.
Oh, amazing. I love that you at the end speak and nearing the end of your book, you talk about legacy and like legacy work and like your the different meanings of legacy and how like now people speak to it more like in monetary ways, and yet we've spoken to this a little bit already, but just to be mindful of those generations to come, and that we are also like co-creating their reality for the future.
Yeah, that's a huge part of how I interact with the world, because not only how our DNA is formed, like our physiology, what we are doing is literally writing codes inside of our DNA to give to our ancestors, our children, about what is food, what is, a different energetic, or not, the physiological parts of, what is our environment dictating to us, how, our ancestors imprinted in us that darkness can bring danger, so that could bring fear. However, we are now rewriting those and building upon that definition that darkness can also mean regrowth. It can also mean rebirth. It's like the Inipi, the sweat lodge. When you go into the darkness, it's like a big mother womb. It's not evil, right? The yin and the yang. One is masculine, one is feminine with masculine in it. The other one is masculine with feminine in it. It's that understanding that there is no ultimate bipolarity unless you are in duality. And from the perspective of duality, there is. But ultimately, when we see out of the perspective of duality, which there is multiple perspectives to see in, then we can see that we are literally rippling out those perspectives into our DNA, into our emotional and mental DNA, to our children and to their children and to their children. So everything that we are, doing is rippling out, but also everything that we are saying emotionally can affect them, whether it's building them up or breaking them down. Mm-hmm. Everything that we're emotionally saying to ourselves is affecting our ancestors behind us and our children in front of us. And it's everything that we, when we do positive affirmations in the morning, that's, going to not only be felt energetically through that butterfly effect, but it's also going to be seen, leading by example, all of those, parts of how we build our perspective. But it's also, much more than that, because that legacy that we're leaving is, it's emotional, energetic, physical, and spiritual. It's all of it, mental, and looking at it through that holistic point of view allows us to further connect to who we are in our highest potential timeline. We're able to really connect to our gifts, our meanings to be here, the reasons that we came to be a mother, to understand compassion and understand nurturing and understand these higher connections of ourselves and these more in-depth places of being a human is like. And so, understanding that it's not just us. It's not just, hey, let's go out and party right now. Maybe that's what you need to do. Maybe that's how you reach the next part of your expansion and growth process. But it may be a different choice that helps catapult the timelines quicker.
Yeah. I have decided for my 40th birthday, I'm having a little getaway with only women.
Awesome.
I'm really excited for that. And I'm just, you speaking again, saying that you just turned 40. I wonder how did you celebrate, or how did that feel for you to approach it? And also, as we're approaching like the end of this, calendar year, I wonder if there's anything you'd like to share about this 2022 year for you.
Yeah, it's been powerful. 2 has always been a really powerful number. So just basically like, turning 40, which is like 2 2s on 2022, was numerologically, synchronistically powerful for me. And then, I celebrated with a group of people. I started doing a drum circle, song and drum circle on the full moon. And my birthday happened to fall right in there. And so I was able to celebrate with a bunch of beautiful souls. And it was just such a gift to connect on that way. My family was here with me as well. And we had like a beautiful fire and potluck meal and beautiful discussions and sang and played music. And so, it was definitely one of the best ones that I've had, and definitely ideal for who I am now. It was definitely very enjoyed. And I've been, celebrating 40 all year. I've been very, like this coming out of the shutdown has been a rebirth process. And so I'm definitely rebirthing myself in many ways. Getting to see everybody at the fair again was like a huge gift, like it really helps you to remember how, unpermanent everything is, right? Like when we all gathered that fall before, we didn't know we wouldn't see each other for how long we've seen, and we didn't know that it was going to get shut down. We didn't know things would be canceled the way they would. So being aware of all that, it really helps to anchor me in the moment, to like really appreciate and have gratitude for every gift that I'm given, to really appreciate this life and this body, and to really appreciate that interconnection with people like you, and try to, connect with as many people that I resonate with as possible, and, honor that growth process. And I was able to, about a year ago, a friend of mine's daughter had her cycle for first time, and they were doing a red tent, beautiful ceremony and fire walking, and just an experience I had always wanted to have as a child. And then so I was finally gifted that as well at the beginning. So it was like, that was like the preemptive, like, here comes your birth for your birthday. And then I was able to bring my two daughters who had just recently started theirs, and I didn't really have a legacy to show them or give to them. And so it was like, I was thinking about that, how it would be awesome to like have more of that and then all of a sudden, like, spirit was like, here's a ceremony for somebody else, but it's for your daughters too, and for you, and for all the women that were there. And so understanding that, like, no matter what the ceremony is, it's for everyone, and that, like, it's such a beautiful gift how it all unfolded. And I didn't think I was going to do the fire walk. I was like, oh, I don't know, and then I'll just decide in the moment. And I did it, and I was transcending. It was another moment of alchemy, of that firebird, right? Like understanding you can rise from the ashes into a new being, new butterfly moment. So yeah, it's been an amazing year, and I look forward to the seeds that I've planted in this year coming into fruition in the next years to come. And also, I've been releasing a lot of things that don't serve me anymore, not only like in my house, like physical clutter, but also in my brain, things that are no longer, serving my highest potential timelines, in my emotions, my memories, things that maybe I saw as trauma before, I can now find a new appreciation for. And I'm allowing myself to go into deeper spaces of reflection to do that. And I'm not, I'm allowing myself to have certain, self-care that I used to look at as being selfish, right? So these paradigm shifts of expansion have, really unfolded in front of me. And then, seeing people like you going into these moments as well, I can really see that holographic ripple, how like it is a collective. We are going through these things together. This, shutdown, no matter what it looked like, we're all reemerging from it. And, it's how we decide to, interact with that is what dictates how we're going to perceive what's coming in and all the input around us. So, happy birthday to you. It's going to be a good one. You're just an amazing gift to this world. And I'm just very thankful that you are here. And if you're here, that means you're here to do something big. And just these videos like this is going to ripple out. And I'm just excited for you and the experience that you get to have, because it's, definitely when you have these ceremonies, whether it's all women or men, or, just all intentional hearts, however you want to connect, it's a frequency template that allows us to go into places that we may not have let ourselves go into before. So yeah, it's gonna be beautiful. I'd love to hear from you what experiences you have when you do this. So yeah.
Thank you. Yes, I'm super excited. I have some offerings that I'm offering to all the women attending, and then a few of the women attending also have some things that they're offering, like a cacao ceremony and some meditation. And it's just going to be a beautiful, I just can feel the magic within it already, even though we're not there yet.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. So yeah, that's something to look forward to for sure.
Yes, absolutely. I know that we've sort of like passed your daughter's birth, but I feel like I wonder if there's anything from any of your births that that you feel that you would want to share to women who maybe haven't experienced birth, or maybe they've had a C-section and they don't know that VBAC is an option or anything like that.
Yes. Follow your heart, don't be led by fear. Trust a certain amount of the medical system, but also really do your own research and connect to other paths. Know that it's not just one way. There's many, many, many ways to go about this process. And even if it wasn't what you chose, it was aligned for whatever reality or whatever lessons that you decided to learn in this lifetime. And this world, all our lessons aren't all just happy-go-lucky. It's a lot of the most powerful lessons are from struggle. And birth that's what they call it, labor, because it is work. It is tough. But one of the most powerful things that I learned is that there are tips and tools to use. And meditation was a huge part of that. Going in and meditating and visualizing how I wanted it to unfold in an actual meditation. When I was sitting there's lots of birth meditations that you can connect to online. And you can also just go into your higher self, your guides, and allow that to unfold in yourself. And then also belly dancing was one of the huge things that I never knew about with my first two pregnancies. And I wish I did, because about 2 months before I had my son, which was my third, the energies, my guides and everything showed me this video about belly dancing through birth. And I was like, what? That's crazy. I got to watch this. Right. So I watched it, and it was amazing, because I had done some belly dancing in the past but never thought the connection of the two. That it was just, what? Mind blowing. Wow. So knowing a couple of the body flows, the dance moves of belly dancing, and then seeing how they were incorporating those into birth, it really was eye-opening. Because when you have labor and contractions, your body contracts. It wants to just go and it hurts, and it makes it hurt worse. And it's like the more you allow yourself to contract, the more it the pain and the more overwhelming it can be. And if you allow yourself to take a deep breath and move your body and allow the pain to move through you and your body to sway back and forth, it literally dissipates and channels the energy away from your brain, and it allows it to be experienced in a bodily way. And then you're able to just let it pass through you in a different way. And it didn't affect me the same. And it also allows the baby to gently be rocked into place, and the cervix to gently open, and all the things to naturally progress as we do these certain movements with our body. It allows it to unfold for us in a way that's much more natural than contracting it with the contraction, so that was a huge thing for me. Also, a birth pool was great. If you do a birth pool, make sure you start filling it up like way ahead of time. Keep a heater in it, because my birth pool was literally like this deep by the time my baby was born, because the contractions, because of everything I was doing, that progressed so quickly. And I was like, I feel like I'm ready to push. They're like, okay, go ahead. And I'm like, really? Oh, okay. And so I got in the pool, and it was immediate. Like, it was amazing. Like, I never knew it could be like that. And by having these certain tools in my tool belt and actually implementing them, I was able to have a much more easy birth. Had more ease to it, right? And I say like using the tools, because in my first birth, I had like this huge bag of stuff and we left it in the car. I didn't want my husband to leave because I wanted him there with me. So I was like, no, screw it. So all the essential oils, all of the, little massage thingies, all the things, it went out the window because I didn't, use it, So actually, if you have these tools, like, use them. Don't be over prepared to the point where you're gonna forget it. And know that no matter what the tool is, like, the most important tools are inside. And like I said, like moving through the fear, because if we look through a lens of fear, that is what will be presented to us, so that we can release the fear that's holding us back. If we look through a lens of love, of acceptance, of compassion and understanding that everything's unfolding for us, life is happening for us, not to us, right? When we allow that to flow, we literally align to the reality in which our most desired timeline is unfolding.
Yes, like in the forward of your book, you have that quote from Max Planck, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Yes.
I've always loved that quote. So when I opened your book and that was like the very beginning, I was like, oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, that's the best. Yeah, Bruce Lipton also said it, but Max Planck said it first. So I wanted to coin him. Bruce Lipton gets a lot of the credit, but, we're all saying it. We're all saying it, I had that feeling before I heard that quote. So, it's a remembering, it's a reminder of what we already know. And that's the coolest part. And we can just like embrace it all and let it unfold, and not have a bunch of guilt or a bunch of worry, projecting ourselves into the past or into the future, and really just like being here in the moment and being here now. And that activates the 0 point, that activates the place where all manifestation is possible.
Absolutely. There is so much of a remembering. I feel like there's a collective remembering, especially of like women in birthing right now. I feel that in the threads and conversations that, like, our ancestors, they birthed, on their own or with groups of women or wise women. And we didn't need all the different tests and fandangled things that are just unnecessary. We don't need someone to like tell us how to poop. And it's a physiological process, and birth is too. We don't need someone to tell us how to do it. We inherently know, even if we don't like know in our mind. Our body knows, our soul knows.
Yes.
Yeah. You dedicate a whole chapter to synchronicities. I wonder if there have been any synchronicities maybe in the past months or year or whatever that might come to mind. Yes, like this.
Yes. So I live a life full of synchronicity now. And when I don't have synchronicity, that's when I'm like, wait, what's going on? What am I missing here? Because synchronicity is usually a way that shows me that like I'm on the right path, that things are aligned, that there is much more to our reality, and all of those things that, 11:11 is one of the big synchronistic moments that really activated me, that really helped me understand what synchronicity even was. And that's when, like, things happen instantaneously, aligned, and you just you don't have any planning behind it. Like today we were both drinking out of these amazing goblin pottery cups that have like a crystal on them, and we both got them at the same barter fair place over, in Okanagan. And like, you can't, like, this is so beautiful. Like, wow. I can't even describe the feeling it gives me. And it's that same feeling, that I'd have with the 11:11. And I'd be like, wow, it's 11:11. My son, when he's little, he'd run into the kitchen and go, it's 11:11. He'd get all excited and do this little dance, and like, just like this feeling that would happen when you would notice these little codes coming through, these little things that would align when, you're speaking and there's a television going on and you literally say the same word, even though there's two different sentences happening and it's the same word interjects at the same time. You're like, wow, these are like a merging of something. And so, that alignment, that merging, that unification is, an experience that is beyond words, but it's like so tangible. It's like it's turning the untangible tangible, right? It's like giving it a crossroad so that like that radio station here and that radio station here can like play for a minute at the same time. And it's just like, it's fascinating because I love looking at life beyond just the mundane. I love when, whether I'm like from the future, from the past, showing myself something to remind myself something, or whether it's my higher self, or whether it's God, or whether it's the timelines merging, whatever the explanation is, it's showing me that there's something much more than just me. There's much more than just sweeping the floor and making the beds and doing laundry and eating food and, procreating. It's like there is so much more of everything. And it's like the dog whistle, you can't hear it, but it's there, the dogs can hear it. So it's all that is super fascinating to me. But the main thing is that it's like an acknowledgement that like I'm on the right path, or that this person's supposed to be in my life, or that something big is to come out of whatever merging. It's like the synchronicity that happened with us and at the fair, and then you got my book, and then all of a sudden you connected, and then I'm on your show, and then I'm asking you to be a guest on my show on Tea Time. And I mean, it was a sign. I was going to ask you before, but then the cups happened, and I'm like, yep, I mean, we're already having tea time, so we're going to do a whole nother episode.
Love it.
Where you come on. So like that synchronicity is just mind blowing. It's just, you can't make that stuff up. It's so beautiful and enriching and delicious. And yeah, so I'm just so grateful.
Magic. Oh, I love it. Love it. Well, I feel like we're sort of coming to a close, but I just wonder if there's anything else particular that's stirring your soul right now that you want to share. And
just be in the moment, really like acknowledge even the hard times, just like how important it is to be there in the moment and to be with whoever it is that you're with. Like really be there. Like don't be taking your thing and being like, oh yeah, what, it's really like connect to what is there in front of you, what you're supposed to be doing, and have open communication. Connect to the importance of how fleeting moments can be when we're not in the moment. How if we are not in the moment with our children as they're growing up, we'll have regrets and go, oh, they grew up so quick, where'd the time go, all those things. But if we're in the moment, we can go, yeah, I remember all this stuff, we did all this amazing things. Time goes by fast, but it's beautiful how it all unfolds, and we can really breathe into it and connect to it and just really appreciate it in a different level than if we're disconnected or too busy, allowing ourselves to be too much in the past or too much in the present, and just letting all those layers go and just really being here now. And I like Ram Dass, he says be here now. He is one of the most pivotal wisdom keepers in my life. Also a friend of mine just wrote a song called Be Here Now that's very connected to Ram Dass's teachings. And there's all of these messages that tell me that it's really important to be mindful, to be in the moment, to not worry or to project, all that stuff elsewhere, and just really embrace the moments as they unfold.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. For people that would like to, see more of you and get your book or, watch your videos, would you please tell people where they can find you, all the places?
Yeah, well, I'm all over the place. So you could just Google Harmony Frenterhouse, Harmony Lorraine Frenterhouse, or Wildcraft Wellness, all one word. But you can also, I'll give you some links. You can go on Amazon and pick up a copy of Birthing a New Paradigm. You can just Google that as well, or whatever search engine you like if you don't like Google. But yeah, you can just search it, and you can go on my website at wildcraftwellness.net to find links as well. You can get it on Etsy. You can get a signed copy on Etsy if you go on there. And then I have a YouTube channel. It's Wildcraft Wellness. I'm thinking about making another one just called Wildcraft. And then I'll have all the other stuff, not just wellness as well. And like, I have so many different things on there. But thinking about doing that rebranding to just Wildcraft. I have that rebranded on my card and stuff, but on there, you can check it out. It's full of videos. I do a show Tea Time where I was talking about having you on. It's great conscious conversation. And there's also gardening videos, nature videos, checking out wildcrafting itself and foraging for mushrooms and creating all sorts of wonderful crafts with me and my kids. Also music and some of the amazing things that we're doing in the musical artistic field, and all sorts of good medicine all over that channel.
Tarot pulls sometimes, and
I do some oracle card readings and just some nature. Like I just did a video of my beach moment the other day or yesterday, and just a little so other people can tap into the mermaid vibe too. So there's that. And then I also have, the social media accounts, Instagram and Facebook, and some really awesome groups over there on Facebook as well. And I do have a Patreon, but I'm not as active on it. I need to do that more. But I've been doing a beautiful song circle in Northwest Washington with my sister, my friend Aaliyah, and some other wonderful people, also part of Seattle Hand Drummers, and loving all of the amazing social networking of the music and creating that is holding space for, and just really love connecting with anyone out there who is feeling aligned. You can email me as well at wildcraftwellness@live.com. So yeah.
Incredible. I will be sure to include all those links in the show notes. And just thank you so much for sharing your heart and soul and stories and wisdom here today. I just feel so grateful that you said yes and that we got to share this time and space virtually today.
Thank you so much. You're just such an amazing soul, and I'm just so thankful and excited to have you on the show.
Yes, I would love that. I would love that. And thank you to everyone tuning in today. If you love the podcast, I'd be so grateful if you choose to subscribe, rate, a review, or share the show. If you feel aligned with me and feel called to dive deeper with me, I provide one-on-one mentorship to women all over the world virtually. You can learn more, book your free clarity call at birthingnova.love. I'm also a practicing medium, and if you're curious about an intuitive reading, you can check out my mediumship page as well. And until next time, be brave, be bold, be love, and be the change that you seek for yourself and the generations to come.
Woohoo, yeah.